We've got community legend, Olympian, champion of the people and the shitters alike. We've got Wraithyn. How you doing, bud?
Dude, I love that. How much do you want to just introduce me on stream every night like that?
Dude, I could put a video pack, like a voice package together for you.
Champion of the people.
Yeah.
God. Although don't mention the Olympian thing. Everybody hates me from that. It's the funniest damn thing ever.
I guess that's as good a place to start as any is how has your Smite career changed by having that little Olympian tag?
Like there's two things. I have a much greater appreciation for the logistics and level of effort that goes into creating a game.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone hates me because I tell them about the logistics and level of effort that goes into making a game. And I think that's the thing. And you wonder why some of these games, like everybody always bitches about the game that they play and the devs not having transparency. Every game I've ever played, somebody has always said, well, we the transparency sucks. It's because when you give people transparency, they complain about it. Right? Like they don't like the answer, right? Like people don't want transparency. I mean, again, this is a very boiled down, I don't know, statement, right? Like there's a lot more that goes into this, but people don't want transparency. They want the transparency to be the answers that they want. Most of the time. There's some people that do appreciate it, right? And are like, oh, I never thought of that. I had no idea that it was really hard to hire programmers in Unreal 3 because it's an older engine that newer programmers don't want to learn.
Right.
Like, I remember having a discussion about that. I'd be like, look, like it's tough to get people to, it's hard to find programmers to begin with. I have a friend who's building a company right now that needs like qualified Unreal 4 programmers and can't find them, right? And they're just very hard to find, right? So now it'd be like saying, okay, I need a mechanic to work in my shop, right? But I only want mechanics that are certified and can work on carbureted engines, right? Like technology of the past.
Right.
So every mechanic and their mother is going, well, why the hell am I going to learn carbureted engines, right? Like everything now is direct fuel injection. Mm-hmm. I'm a car guy, so this makes sense to me, right? It's like, why, if I'm a student coming out of school, why do I want to learn how to code in Unreal 3 when Unreal 4 is like the standard, right?
Right.
So it's really hard to find people. And you're like, look, like, here, assuming that it's hard to find people, no matter how much money you throw at them, because you're basically asking somebody to like take a step back in their career to work on something. So you either need somebody who's super qualified, who is doing it, right? Or you need somebody to take a chance and learn an older engine. Nobody wants to do that, right? And in that point aside, like the work is difficult. You talk about like UI work and programming, and you find out all about all these things as you participate and you become an Olympian. And then when you try and, educate the people and be like, hey, like, look, like there are priorities within a game. And I'm sorry, but, and this is a shout out to Jithens, right? The 3 centimeters that this UI element is out of position does not take priority over an issue where, this is, the UI in game in the tutorial is bugged and broken and people can't play the game. Like, sorry. Yes, it seems like a simple fix, but there are more important things that come first. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you learn things like that. And then when you try and communicate that or educate that or anything like that, people are really, really not receptive to it at all. Like I turned into like this like high-res apologist is what somebody called me. And the reality was it's just like giving you the facts. Like, hey,
it's that fine line of being, and especially because I found myself in a very similar situation, right? Having interned at Hi-Res, having worked with having that very close relationship and seeing like beyond the veil, right? I saw what goes on behind the scenes a lot, and you learn a lot. And like some stuff, and I'm sure you've had the same, you really agree with. Some stuff you don't.
Oh, yeah.
And
the other thing is that, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go.
Right. So you have all of that. And then, but once you leave that area and you're just back amongst the people, they don't have any of that context. They don't see any of that. So then you become like this company man and you go too far to like, no, guys, try. And then like but then you're like, fuck, that's like, I still want to be critical sometimes. And then like, it's that weird balance of like, and I struggled with it when I was like too far one way of like too far being the company man. And then I went too far swinging the other way of like being too critical of being like just a jackass. And then now it's like, it's come together. I've like, you know, most of the time you can be like, you know, like, they're trying. I know what they're going through, and like we don't make it easier on them, but I can imagine that you're experiencing a lot of those same things.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, right? And like it drives me nuts because like genuinely, like the people over there like care. They care more than anybody on the planet. Like we'll have Ajax answering us in the Olympian Discord at 8:00 at night, and you know, we'll be in this great discussion about how something works or how something should work or like, you know, some consistency issue or whatever. And he'll be like, oh, sorry guys, I got to drive home now. Like the guy just constantly works in this game. Like the people over there totally give a shit. And like, I think like, you know, when you have active discussions around like, hey, like if we were to change the battle pass in this way, like, how do you guys think the community would respond to it? Like, it's not like, it never comes from a place of like, we're gonna money grub those bastards and how much cash can we squeeze out of the community, and like all these things that they get accused of are just so unfounded. Right. It drives me crazy because it probably didn't bother me at the beginning because I was probably just like, yeah, they're a business, they want to make money, right? Mm-hmm. And now when you see the people that statement accuses, you know what I mean? Like before it was just a company, you know what I mean? But now that I have an understanding of like the people behind all of it, I think that's given me a perspective where I'm much more critical of the community because like realistically at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of people just trying to do their jobs. Right. And that's all it is. And the amount of hate and shit that they get is just so unfounded. And the other thing is that we also look like shills because when we criticize the community or I wouldn't even say criticize the community, we counter the community or give them things to think about. We do that publicly. And when we criticize Titan Forge, we do that privately, right? We do that like where I'm like, you know, we have an issue and hey guys, this thing is broken. This should be a priority. You know, people are angry about this. This is not good. You know, whatever. Like the Thor wall into the tower thing, right? Mm-hmm. We were like, guys, this is like all of us unanimously, guys, this is horrible. You need to change this right now. Or it needs to be a priority to change. And they do it, right? But we did that privately. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that on Twitter. We didn't scream about it on Reddit, but everybody else does, right? And so you get this very one-sided view of Olympians where we're very critical outwardly to the community, but we're very critical inwardly to high res. I mean, we've challenged them on things like God design and everything else. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's been a good experience. I'd certainly want to run again, but I think perception of me has shifted negatively due to it. I really do, right? It's, you know, because I come in with answers, not as a know-it-all, but as just somebody who's knowledgeable. Right. Like my best example is like people draw up these really, 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 really elaborate God design documents on Reddit, right? Where they're like, oh, and this is his one, and it's got this scaling, and the base damage starts at this, and then it comes out to that, and then when you hit level 20, this thing happens. And that's just not how, I mean, you were an intern, right? That is not how the design process works at all.
Yeah, I could tell you
in any way, shape, or form.
I was in on meetings when Discordia was first being talked about, and like the first things about Discordia were like insane nutso like RNG mechanics that were all about like, you know, like chaos and like all this weird like stuff that like would have been awesome on paper, but then functionally never could have worked, right? Like this. Well,
it's not, don't even get me started on the functional part, because you tell somebody that functionally that their ability isn't going to work and their brains just melt out of their ears. It's the worst thing ever, because you don't want to shoot down somebody's idea, but you know, be realistic here, man. Like you can't do that, or here are the problems that you'll face in the future. Like there's a lot of like transforming gods. Like people want like a tier 5 god where their model changes the more that they level up or whatever, right? And like, not practical, right? Like, you know, you need 10 different bone structures of the god, you know, as you move, you know, which is great. And it's cool to get the community like theorizing and coming up with cool shit and thinking and everything like that. But you know, the specific example I have is like when people come at God concepts with numbers in them, that is an instant turn off, right? Because it's like, okay, well, like who gives a shit what the damage is? Because if the abilities and everything else don't fit the kit, the theme, the this, the that, like it's not a god concept, right? It's not viable, right? And so like I remember there was this one like really well thought out one. I was like, hey man, like I love your idea. I think your idea is great. I love this as a god concept, but I'm telling you, if you want devs to be more receptive to this as a concept, the best way to do it is to boil it down into the key elements of this god's lore, passive, appearance, and kit, right? Don't worry about the numbers. They figure that out on the other end, and all that stuff's going to change depending on itemization and, you know, whether or not something's too strong. Like the design process is iterative from a numbers perspective, but the core of it is not.
Right.
They come up with abilities and they build them when everybody's in agreement on them, and then maybe they'll tweak a thing here or there if there's some mechanical issue or if something's like too OP. And then they build the numbers part of it in the back end. So I was literally like, dude, like this is great, but it's like 8,000 words with a lot of justifications around things that'll change, you know, 50 times over the course of the design process. Like, can you boil this down into just the god, can't pass it? And I got screamed at on, like I had to delete my posts. Is because it's got, you know, like, oh, like, you know, I guess the devs are lazy, don't want to read the whole community. I'm like, no. They're busy people.
Yeah,
like everybody else.
No, they just don't have 4 hours to read your post.
No, exactly. And I'm like, look, like, you know, I'm not the asshole for wanting your thing to get a higher chance of being seen. Right. And that's the thing is, but you come off as this like know-it-all, and I hate it. Like,
yeah, I remember when we released Daji, I was working there, and Flare Boot, bless his heart.
I love Flare,
but
most of the time,
yeah, and he just would not let like the attack chain when Daji first released. Like everyone hated that attack chain, but nobody understood the attack chain. So then I was like on the front lines being like, it's Kali. Just think of it, but it's not Kali. And oh my god, and just having to fight with people on that was so bad. And like they don't want to listen to you. So they have their own preconceived stuff, and they're like, well, you're not answering the question exactly how I want to answer it. You're answering like the basis of it, but not everything. So I'm mad. And it's like, it's
like that with like God, what was it, like God buffs and shifts and reworks and stuff like that too. Like that one drives me nuts. It's like, well, Nox should have a 0.5 second longer duration on her root, with higher scaling on her dash, so she plays. And you're like, no. All right, like forget the numbers. Why is Nox bad? And what part of her being bad sucks? And then leave it to the guys who do this every day and have degrees in this to figure out how to alleviate that suck. You know what I mean? I think that's the other thing is you shift people away from that because everybody thinks they're a game designer, right? You shift people away from that. You're like, wait. All right, so let's talk about Nox, right? Like Nox sucks. Why? Her clear sucks. Everything else sucks about her. She's utility. She doesn't do enough damage. Blah blah blah. You're like, okay, well then, how would a designer solve that? Well, make the 2 wider, make the 1 pass through minions and do damage, right? That's not my job. But I can tell you that she sucks to play in Conquest, right? Because she gets out cleared early or something like that, right? Like, I mean, those are just examples, but like my whole point is that like the community doesn't, they all like to play game designer, and myself included, right? Because I think it's fun, right? But when you're making serious suggestions, it should be as accurate as you can about why something is unfun or underwhelming or overpowered, and then leave it to the guys who have the tools and ability to analyze it. And anyway, I could go on about the Olympian stuff all day. I know that's not the point of your show, but I love it. I hate what it's done to the perception of me. You know, because I mean, I think you ask anybody who knows me very well in the community, and I'm like the guy who wants to help people, right? When, you know, I got 3 pro players in my living room right now because I got to do laundry before Worlds, right? Like, you know, who opens up their house and you know, and things like that. And so like, I genuinely think of myself as a very nice person, and it's just like, and I think part of it's just like the way that you communicate online in, you know, in 280 characters, it's very hard not to like emote yourself to the point where you don't sound like a cynical dickhead. And so that's the other part of it. But anyway, I can go on about that forever.
Dude, I feel you. It's one of those things where like those who have had those experiences can like it's like going to war. We have those shared experiences, even though
yeah, you're in the trenches together, dude. It's like
I feel you at a very deep level.
we got accused of being unpaid. So what was it? My favorite accusation is like the Olympians are unpaid high-res shills to do their dirty work for them and communicate bad news to the community. And like I was like, you are fucking out of your mind. Like, I don't block people on Twitter, and I was like this close. I was like how delusional do you think you have to be to think that somebody sat in an office somewhere twirling their mustache going, let's see what we get these community guys to do for us. We're gonna sell skins. Like, you know what I mean? Like holy shit, like how detached from reality you have to be to think that's the case. Like we volunteered to do this to help people, to help the community with everything, right? Dude, I can't tell you how many bugs we've tracked down, like just things like that. Like got account issues solved for people where like, you know, things weren't linking up correctly, and like just generally helping people out. Like we all joined us to do that.
Right.
And we also wanted to help high res kind of, you know, get more feet on the street and better community feedback from collection. And as a bonus, we get to work closely with them and work on this game that we all love, right? Like that's a cool part of it. So I don't know. I get really, really worked up when people make accusations like that, because I know the reason all of us decided to raise our hands for this program, and B, I know all the people that work over there and their intentions, and you know, sometimes they're not perceived the greatest, right? Like somebody freaked out the other day because we asked, there was a lot of confusion around like Thor and Ymir and Terra Walls and Odinalt under towers, and people were like, dude, there's this crazy bug, like hotfix, gotta go. And we asked, and we were like, guys, this is intended. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Like we had to do it to fix another bug. There was a bug going on. I mean, I can't tell you what it was. It was pretty severe with the towers, right? And the way the interactions work. But there was a really bad bug, and through fixing it, that interaction occurred. And somebody somewhere probably said, hey, you know what? I mean, every other objective on the map deletes your walls, right? How are these towers and phoenixes any different, right? And so I'm assuming there. I don't know for sure.
It makes sense, like logically.
Well, logically it makes sense, right? But people were like, dude, this has never happened before. I'm freaking out. I'm Odin caging people under Phoenix, and I can't do it. I mean, talking about an Odin nerf to the extreme, right? Like, and so people were really upset, like really, really, really upset. I mean, like, I probably have 50 DMs about that issue, right? I'm not even kidding you. In the course of like maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and we communicated that back to Titanforge. They were like, wow, this is like really a lot of bad backlash. Like, you know what? We're definitely going to do something about this. We'll make sure it's not in for Worlds, so the pros, you know, because it's a big deal. Like Thor's in the meta right now, right?
Right. Yeah, we that came up during one of our games at placement round, like, or where dropped a kill because of the wall got deleted. Yep,
exactly. And that sucks, and it feels bad. And so they were really receptive to the community feedback, which was, guys, what the fuck is this? And so we said, okay, there's a lot of confusion right now. Can we please tweet this out and let people know? And this was at like 7 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night or something like that. I think it was maybe even a little bit earlier, but you know, they had all their stuff to do for the day. Like they're busy people. We were like, guys, like, can we just tweet this out so we stop getting DMs and whatnot? And me and Flair tweeted out. We were like, hey guys, like this is intended. Like we pass along the feedback. This is bullshit. Like nobody likes this. They're going to look into changing it back. Like no worries. And dude, the amount of hate that we got because it, like, the official communication came from us and not high res. Like, oh, leave it to their lackeys to deliver the bad news. And like, why do I have to follow somebody on social media to get up to date information? The tweet explaining all of it came from the Smite Game account at like 10 o'clock in the morning the next day, right? We just preempted it by like 12 hours. Right. And dude, the neckbeards of Reddit, and I hate all of them. Like, fuck you guys. Not everybody on Reddit, just the specific people that are obnoxious on there. Are just so fucking wrapped around the axle about process and like, and again, it was like, oh, I got to follow Wraithyn to get up to the date information. It's like, no, I mean, it may preempt it by a couple hours, but if you want the official communication, like what do you want to do? Do you want to calm people down quicker, or do you want to make an official announcement?
Yeah.
You know, and there's arguments for both, and I get it, but like the amount of hate that we got for trying to do the right thing and calm people down when we were getting bombarded with questions was asinine. Just absolutely fucking insane. So anyway, I could go a lot. Like, I love the Olympian program. I hope I get to do it again. I hate what it's done for me. Like, personally, everybody thinks I'm a jerk. And I'm really not. Like, ask anybody. And maybe that's something I need to work on, is being better about communicating that stuff. But it really gave me
it's a hard life. Like, I know better than a lot of people.
Dude, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's hard because you care so much. And so you swing so far in the defense. Like, I get it. The apologist, like, I completely get that. Like, because I've been there. And so you start defending stuff that you wouldn't have normally done before. Right. And it starts off slow. And then like all of it, like, I'll remember the point where I was defending too much of Hi-Rez was, I think, part of like when the global series and like all of like that really bad competitive announcement really got announced. And I was like, people are just, they're getting the panties in a twist. And I was like super for what Hi-Rez was doing. And then I just got shit on by everybody. And they were just like, and I was like, oh, I need to take a step back. I am wrong. And that's
absolutely.
It's hard to figure out that balance of like, yes, you're supporting the company. Like, that's what the Olympians are. Like, that also just blows my mind that people are like, you support the company too much. You love Smite too much. It's like, well, that's why I got this position.
That's why I volunteered for this, right?
Because like, that's what the whole position is about. And so,
we got our wrist slapped. And I mean, I think that was probably the one time when I was like, maybe I'm overdoing it, right? Was I let Kurt have it on one of his tier lists about, because he was like, oh, Kukulka got a buff because he got a tier 5. It's like 3 months later, right? Like, after he gets his tier 5 skin, they're like, okay, he's the worst performing god in the game. People still like him. Let's give him a buff. They overdid it. I'll say that out loud. But statistically, all the numbers suggested that this god was not good. Right? And then 3 months later, they're like, okay, numbers suggest he's not good. We are going to buff him. Oh, well, this is why. 3 months later, 90 days or whatever it is, right? Or, I mean, it's probably shorter than that. But like, you're like, how do you draw that line? Like, okay, so Kukulka's supposed to be bad forever because of this? And you're just like, and then that's not where I got my wrist slap, because I mean, I'll make fun of Kurt all day. Like, Baron's a great example. Nobody's buffing Baron, right? Baron got a T5. It looks cool. It's great. People bought it. Awesome, right? But nobody's buffing Baron, right? He's actually in a good spot as far as I understand it. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm sure he'll catch some changes at some point because he's not very popular. But like, again, and you look at that, and then Smitten had a post about it, I think it was about Freya. I mean, like, oh, this is why they're reverting Freya, is because I think it was Freya, right? Oh, she's getting a skin. This is why she's getting a revert. And I was like, and I just kind of like, I didn't let her have it, but I was like, you're wrong. Like, this is not the way it is.
They're reverting her. Have it. You kind of vented a little more frustration than you meant to.
Well, it's because you just deal with it week over week of like, okay, these gods are getting buff. Like, oh, this skin's coming out for Daji. I guess she's getting a buff. You're like, shut the fuck up. Like, honestly, shut up. Not to Smitten. I love Smitten. Smitten's wonderful. But we kind of like, we were like, no, this isn't the case. Like, stop. This is like a really horrible thing to start perpetuating to the community. Because and I think that's like the response. It's more on the like responsibility of the creators out there, is to like not incite bullshit. Right? Because people listen to us, right? And our opinions, right? And people agree with them. People disagree with them. There's a lot of people who agree with them because they view us as sources of knowledge, right? And so when you spew something, and again, this isn't directed at Smitten. She didn't spew anything. She made a tweet that was actually a joke, and I fucked up. That was my fault. But when you say something that is blatantly false, but could be construed as true, it is so damaging. and so hard to change that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that that got me going, because it was like the fourth instance of it happening where somebody, basically accused Hi-Rez of, reverting this for a popular vote win because of the skin, when the reality of it was the first part of them reverting it was 3 designers who do this for a living getting on camera and admitting they failed at their job of reworking a character.
Yeah.
Just think about those guys had to eat crow and get up in front of the entire community and go, yeah, we couldn't do it. Sorry. We screwed this up. And if you think predicating that with the idea that it's somehow tied to a skin release where somebody has to admit that it was something they couldn't figure out, that just blows my mind. And so anyway, but there are people who think that's seriously why Freya got the rework, was because of this skin, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. Let's talk about SPL. Yeah. Sorry.
So we'll wrap that entire conversation up with one last thing, because I have to say it's been in my mind.
I'm not an asshole, everybody. Yeah. I promise you. I'm.
How much worse is it? How much worse is everything now, or will it get, now that Fortnite 2 and Overwatch 2 have become legitimate things? How bad does Smite 2 memes get?
I think Fortnite 2 is Overwatch 2, they've already admitted there's no platform changes, there's no anything like that, right? It's still in the same engine. I think Fortnite is too. It's still an Unreal 4, right?
Yeah, but they added there are fundamental changes that are occurring to both. Like Fortnite 2, they added vehicles, they added, swimming. There was a bunch of mechanics that they did add. Being savvy with game balance and game design, right? They realistically took servers down for 3 days to do maintenance. That whole event was about maintenance and uploading data and changing everything. That's a shit ton. That 3 days of that's amazing. Right?
That's a lot of time. I mean, being somebody who works in the tech world, I would be willing to bet they did some major infrastructure re-architecting, like moving to different hosting providers or something like that. Because that shit just doesn't take 3 days. If you have a software package like that, just is nothing with today's current hardware takes 3 days to install.
Mm-hmm.
Almost nothing, right? Or my guess is it was installation, re-architecting, QA.
Right. There was a ton that went into it. But that's
right.
But
that usually doesn't happen unless you fully re-architect something, right? Which they very may well have done, right? But a full new network topology and all that stuff. But I don't know. So the way I look at it is so Blizzard and Epic have 30 times the annual revenue. Maybe not. Maybe more. I mean, I don't know what the annual revenue of Hi-Rez is, right? But those are huge companies, right? Mm-hmm. That have tons of resources, right? And the only thing that would make Smite 2 a Smite 2 is move to a newer engine, right? That's it. And there's good and bad to that. One, realistically, they could probably add some new interesting mechanics. It's still a 2D game at the end of the day. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are we ruining the thing that makes our game in the process? Right? Are we turning Smite into Paragon? Because you have a good thing going for you, right? People like Smite.
Mm-hmm.
So now what do? Do we split the player base? Do we have some people who like Smite 2 and some people who just like Smite? Well, now your matchmaking goes to shit, because you have half the population of people playing on either one.
See, but then you've got the Overwatch 2 people saying, well, Overwatch 2 did it, and people who have Overwatch 2 can still play the game with Overwatch 1 people.
Right, exactly. Well, Overwatch 2 is a mostly PvE game mode, right? So it's it would be like Smite adding domination again, right? It's not and then calling that Smite 2, right? Or maybe we delete Clash, Assault, and Siege, and we add in 2 new game modes with new maps and everything, and we're gonna call that Smite 2. Same engine, same core gameplay in Conquest, right? Which is what Overwatch is. But then we're just gonna call it Smite 2. That literally is what Overwatch is doing. Right. The Fortnite thing is interesting because they constantly fuck what makes Fortnite, right? They added the mechs in, and the entire game changed, and people with no skill or talent could win games.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. right? And people hated it, and people stopped playing because of it, right? And so there's a lot of warning signs out there for taking giant leaps like that. I also personally, and I haven't seen any data to support this, but I feel like Fortnite is having this issue where they're trying to stay relevant and interesting, and they're struggling against it. Whereas, because all these things they keep adding to the game don't make it more fun to play, right? Like, okay, yeah, we got the roller balls. That was fun for like a week. And then, we got the plumber launchers where you can shoot and grapple yourself around, right? Now we got the mechs, and everybody hated that, and people stopped playing because of it. And I think they're having this constant fight where they're trying to keep the game interesting, but they're not, right? And right. I see complaints from Fortnite creators every single day about how it's getting stale. Can't wait for the next thing. I want to try a new shooter. Can't wait for COD, right? Like, that's what they're fighting against. Where I think Smite, on the other hand, I mean, it's Smite 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 every month when they release a new character. The whole meta changes. Mm-hmm. Everything shifts. You're playing a completely different game the second that they drop in a new character and make a bunch of item changes. So I don't know. I believe in the iterative changes that Smite does, where you expand upon what you have. And I think the idea of Smite 2, yes, the perception is that look at all these companies that are going to version 2 of their game, but we're on Smite version 700.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The biggest thing with that largely is just having been on the other side. The code for Smite is horrendous. There is because the way that company comes up, because I think everyone forgets it's an indie company, right? So at the start, when you're writing code, you're writing code just to get stuff done. You're however that needs to get accomplished, right?
Sure.
It's not pretty, but it functions. And then that guy who wrote all that code leaves. And I think that's I feel like our entire conversation has been, well, one more thing, and you're right about that, right? Like, that's all I've done this entire time. That's another thing that people don't understand, right? Is like shit breaks when you write software. It's just a fact of life. Right. And believe it or not, and it was kind of funny because when Travis took over, he came out very publicly and said, I'm focusing on fixing shit and untangling shit and these longstanding bugs and these issues that have been plaguing people and, things that have, been around forever that people hate, like the Thor glitch. You remember the Thor glitch with the wall where you'd stun them and then their character model would just go boop and it would shift a little bit? Right.
Gone. Been around for 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. Gone. Everybody hated it. It's gone. And then you get complaints about the things that don't get taken a look at. Spectator. Favorite. I love arguing with people about Spectator. Right?
As a coach, I do have to side a lot of the time on the Spectator.
Sure.
Whoa.
And as somebody who understands business very well, a feature that impacts a grand total of like 100 people versus what's a good example? Versus Merlin Magus working on towers. Yeah. Where do you put your time? Like, where do you put your resources?
And it's rough too, because and
it sucks to have to make, I feel bad for the guys who got to make those priority decisions. Right. And new things keep propping up and getting on that list of things just get shifted down. But it's like that in all software development everywhere. Go look at Warframe's hotfix list. Go look at their hotfix list and tell me that Smite has bugs. And I'm talking game-breaking shit where you phase through walls to the end of a mission and kill a boss, right? And that stuff comes up weekly. But then you look at Riot, right? Like Smite has weird interactions between characters sometimes. Like you could horror assault a Daji, you could pull things with it, and people are like, I cannot believe this made it into the game. There is no way this should have happened. Like, what the fuck? High res, you guys suck. Do you know Riot Games, League of Legends, has not changed a character interaction bug in 5 years? So if their characters have weird interactions to each other, that's part of the game. Part of the game. Seriously, right? So this whole they have more resources and things like that. And this is the part where I get pissed when people accuse high res of shit like that, is because they do fix that stuff. They did fix the Daji bug, and it was this impossible corner case for a QA person to figure out, right? They fixed it in less than 2 weeks. And yeah, it made it in the game, and it was annoying. It was really shitty for arena players. That was about it. Right? But oh God. But you have something like that where they're actually responsive. It's just not as fast as everybody wants it to be. And then you look at another game that doesn't give a fuck about it, is still hugely successful. You're like community expectation needs to. I feel like it sucks because your option is to give your entire community an easy to understand, in-depth look at game development and design, and they're still not going to give a shit, or say nothing. And that's why you have such a lack of communication from these devs across the entire industry, is because it's like, okay, well, we could really go out of our way and show everybody that what we're dealing with. But on the one hand, not good for business, right? If somebody comes in and, because inevitably somebody's going to come in and make a Duke Sloth video, I love Duke, by the way, about how their design process is garbage and should be changed, and they're prioritizing things the wrong way. So you give somebody a look under the skirt to try and educate people, and then people have a problem with it or don't like the answers.
Right.
So your alternative is say nothing. Right. So that's the it drives me nuts, because it's like my instinct is always to like correct people, right, and try and educate and teach and everything like that. And when it just doesn't matter, it's like, what's the point? So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I love the Olympians. Vote for me again next year. Blah blah blah, all that good stuff. But yeah, I think they get way more shit than they deserve, and a lot of them are just working within the confines of what they had. I mean, in a perfect world, they'd be able to offer every programmer $300,000 and they would attract talent from around the world and get things done in a day. But it's just not reality. It's not how life works.
Especially with game development and Atlanta too, because there's like how many.
Nobody wants to leave California. I can tell you that right now.
That specifically. But then if you're going out there, you've got Gearbox right down the road, right? Like there's attracting high-end programming talent. What Hi-Rez does really well is their intern program is phenomenal. I think a ton of the current staff working behind the scenes, working on, animation, working on modeling, working on all of that type of stuff. Like there's a bunch of people that I interned with that are still with the company. I think most of the people that I interned with are like, their turnover rate from their intern program is very low. Like if you come in and intern, you probably have a job there. Unless you fuck it up, right?
What happened to you?
I couldn't move. That was my big thing, is I wanted to, and then couldn't move down to Atlanta. That was basically the gist of it. So I missed out.
Bummer, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome down here, and I think that's the other funny thing is like Atlanta's like such a sick city. It's awesome.
Atlanta's like, I love the area because like it's.
Wow, you're in Alpharetta, dude. Like you can't.
Well, not only that. What I like about it is you have Atlanta, you have downtown Atlanta, and that's its own beast, right? And then you go 5-10 minutes in any direction, and you're in a small city. Like this, there's the small city pocket. It's like you have the planet,
Alpharetta, Buckhead, Smyrna, like all that good stuff.
You have like the planet of Atlanta, and then you've got the rings, like all these different pockets of like that are their own communities. That's what I like about Atlanta. Like it's you have the city, you're never too far away from it, but you can be completely removed from Atlanta, like around Atlanta. It's wild.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to be, I mean, that's the whole point. Like we bought a house last year, and I'm 15 minutes from everywhere. Like I'm like 15 from the Brave Stadium. I'm like 15 from downtown. I'm like probably 25 from Hi-Rez, right? But I think that's like you go to any other major city on the East Coast, it's like if you want to. You either need to make a ton of money and to live close, or you got to live 2 hours away or like an hour and a half away to be able to afford where you live.
Right.
Atlanta's a totally different beast, but nobody gets that, right? Like it's still like, I think until it becomes a San Francisco, nobody's going to be like, I want to move to Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody still thinks it's like this redneck hillbilly, like Bible Belt craziness down here. It's not. I love it down here. So, they can all stay away.
Yeah.
Although no, they can come down now that I own a house. I want my property value to go.
Yeah, that's the smart thinking. That's the businessman. All right. Well, Wraithyn,
all right.
I think this is gonna have to be a 2-part interview series.
You gotta go?
No. I don't think I can release this before Worlds. I think this is too much and not enough of meat on the bone. I think this is gonna be its own standalone separate interview that comes out after Worlds.
Sure, man.
And so everybody who's watching this is going to be really weird and awkward. So I think this is 40 minutes. So I think we're going to cut this here.
We're going to cut and then we're going to start again. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
So,
all right.
Really enjoyed talking to you. I look forward to talking to you again in like 5 minutes.
Sure, man.
So I'll give you, I don't know, like I want to keep going with that. I kind of just want to pivot completely and just keep talking about like that, the community, the streamer, the personality side of things, right? Like, yes, we've covered the Olympian part of it to the end of the earth, but now like you as a Smite streamer, like what's that been like, and like being picked up by Obey and like kind of coming up through the community that way. Like I would love to just sit here and talk to you about that as well. I think the nature of what this interview is changing rapidly from when we started.
Yeah, dude. I mean, hey, I literally talk for a living, so giving me an opportunity to keep doing that.
Yeah. So I mean, I at the end, I'll cut this again and I'll get you like 10 minutes. We'll get you your placements and worlds. We'll talk about that. But I want to continue with.
Dude, we can keep on this track, man. Anytime, man. So, I have nothing to do. I mean, I just got to run to the grocery store and feed these failures. I should feed them gruel. You don't make placements again next year, and I'm not making dinner again.
D grade meat.
You hear me, Ducky? Yep.
So.
Yep. Anyway.
All right. So, how did you come into Smite? Like I guess.
Oh, holy shit!
I don't really know your story too much. I know you through Weekend, and I think that's pretty much the case for a lot of people.
Yeah,
I knew you as the meme guy of like you paid Weekend to be in his wedding. That was like my first radar review was that meme.
That is my favorite Smite related story. And there's like a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
People that actually thought I paid Kurt Schrey $15,000 to be his groomsman. There are people on this planet, and this is what it goes back to, like content creators being responsible. Kurt was like, "Yeah, no, of course, Wraith paid me $15,000," and then you see these YouTube comments of like, "Oh, this is that shitlord that paid to be in Weekend's wedding," and you're like, "Okay, there are people out there dumb enough to believe whatever he says." So now you see where I'm going with like the Kukulkan skin thing, right? Like it comes out of your mouth. And everybody, there are people dumb enough to believe that that's the case, right? So if somebody's willing to believe that I paid $15,000 to be in Kurt's wedding, they are dumb enough to believe that Kukulkan got a buff because he has the skin. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Not going back down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to do it all. I'm not doing it. I can talk all day about it. But no, okay. So how did I get started in Smite? So when I moved to Atlanta, I had moved from Boston. I had left my then girlfriend. It ended 2 weeks after I moved down. I moved down here for a job, and I by myself, and all I had was my flat screen TV that my dad gave me. A couple years back. I still have it. It's like 10 years old. I need to get rid of it. Sucks down the power. It blows. I had my flat screen TV. I had my PlayStation, and I had my couch. Right, I had no other furniture. Well, I had my bed frame, and that was it. I had no other furniture. Totally starting a new life. Left everything with my ex-girlfriend so that she wouldn't, she wouldn't be wanting for furniture or anything like that. I was like, yeah, like you stay comfortable in Boston. Like I'll just kind of, rebuild. Like I don't care. Like I don't need a futon or a whatever you want to call it. Right. Like I don't need a ton of stuff because I'm I'm a guy, right? Like I need a couch to sit on, a TV to watch, and a bed to sleep in, and I don't give a shit about the rest of it, right? So when I moved down, all I had was my PlayStation. I had an Alienware computer that I played a lot of MMOs on, but I didn't have room for it in my apartment, right? Because I made the choice that I was going to set up the second bedroom as a guest room instead of an office, right? My dad came to stay a lot because he works for Coca-Cola. And so basically, like I had this Alienware. I had just gotten into Destiny. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'll bust out the PC later. And, played a bunch of Destiny probably for the first 2 months. I was down there, got kind of tired of it. It was Taken King expansion, right? So you beat Oryx enough times, and you're like, all right, fuck it, I'm done with this. Like, I'm all set. And I remember seeing an advertisement on YouTube about like welcoming the Japanese pantheon into Smite, and one of the ways they were going to do it was through the tier 5 skin for season 2, which was Thor. So anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Gundam fan. I love Gundam. I mean, it's my background right now. I got a model right there. I think it's awesome. I like the sci-fi mecha side of it.
Favorite series of it.
Oh God, Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Iron-Blooded. Mobile Fighter G Gundam will forever always.
G Gundam's a good one. It's kind of wacky. It's on the like the fringe, right?
Yeah.
I like IBO because like a lot of these, I think IBO and Wing are the 2 series where you don't get these like really whiny protagonists. Like if you give a 13-year-old a weapon of war and tell them that those are the bad guys and you're the only one that's capable of defeating them, most 13-year-olds don't have the moral compass to be like, no, I don't like hurting people and I don't want to, I just want to be friendly. Like, and so like IBO and Wing do that very well because you have characters like Hero and the Wing Squadron who just fucking mow people down. Like I'm talking ending lives left and right, blowing up, outposts and space stations and like literally like just brutally killing people with this weapon of war that they have that nobody else does, right? So IBO and Wing are the only 2 series that actually do that and are more realistic about it, where you watch like 0-0 or Seed Destiny and they're like the main character will cut off the arms and legs of the enemy mechs because he doesn't want to kill the people.
Right.
Like, no, that's not what you do when somebody's trying to kill you. Like you kill them or they kill you, and that's just how it works. And so like anyway, those are the 2 series I like the most. But back to the story. And so I saw this advertisement where they were basically like designing the tier 5 skin, and it's a Gundam Thor that you can play. And I was like, I want to play that game because there weren't at the time any decent Gundam games. So I'm like, oh, like what is this? Oh, it's Smite. Okay, well you play like as these characters and you can walk around the map and like do these things, and you play as gods. I was like, all right, that's cool. And so we went back to Destiny, and then on a whim, I can't remember who suggested. I feel like it was me. Like this gaming group of coworkers that I had was like, hey, let's try that Smite game. It's free. And I'm like, bet. I'm sick of Destiny. I'm gonna go play this game. Like, and dude, we got so into it. Like, I'm talking like I still have a picture somewhere. I'll have to find it. But we would go to my friend's house. One of the guys I played Destiny with, we went to his house in South Carolina, and like I was like bringing, our little like 30-inch or 24-inch or whatever it was TV, and like, my wife's PlayStation, my PlayStation, and we would shack up in his living room with like 5 screens, and all Saturday morning after a 6-hour drive, just play Arena over and over and over again. And what kind of wombo combos could we make? And like 5-man Ares Zalt and the Ho Yield into the Kraken. Like, and everybody had their favorite character and everything. And like, dude, I absolutely fell in love with the game like overnight. And then eventually what ended up happening is we started getting into Conquest. Like we'd play a lot of Assault, we'd play a lot of Clash, but nobody wanted to touch Conquest because it was big and it was confusing, it was complex. Until one of the guys who played Heroes of the Storm was like, hey, we should try that 3-lane mode. It takes a lot longer, but we can do it. And as soon as we started playing Conquest, dude, I was absolutely like hooked. Like I was like the strategy of it. Like I'm a big like strategy guy, like in my professional life and my personal life, like, right? Like thinking 9 or 10 or 11 steps ahead of like, if I do this and that, and min-maxing and managing team comps and all that cool stuff. Like, dude, I was all over it. Like it just like totally sucked me in. And but I had a problem. All the guys I played with, I worked with, right? They, at that point in all of our careers, were much busier than I was.
Right.
They would travel. We'd get to play like Friday and Saturday nights, and that was it. I had more time because I was still here. I wasn't traveling yet. So I had this like thirst for knowledge where I was going out and watching streams, and I would drop $10 to watch we could play Rat because I want to learn how to play Ratatasker, right? Or I'd go to Barra and be like, play Scotty because I want to learn how to play Scotty. I'm really interested in that character, right? Like trying to, you just like kind of try and find your groove of what you like within the game. And I would go out and I would like they would play a god and I would write it down in my notebook of like, okay, this is what this one does well. Like this is an early game god. Total like not information overload. Like I loved that shit. The problem is I was getting better way faster than my friends were. Where I was like getting into the meta of the game and educating myself. And these guys were like, yeah, let's play on Friday and Saturdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually kind of there were two things that kind of launched my streaming career. The first was that Kurt needed a community clan for PlayStation. Like he was like, oh, PlayStation's getting clans. Like, somebody should make one. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And then it exploded. Like we had 1,000 members. We were the number one, like by reputation. And that was like a big thing on PlayStation was like, you were in one of the top, like most active clans. So we had 1,000 people at any given time that were never offline more than 2 days. Mm-hmm. So anybody that was offline more than 2 days got kicked and we made room for somebody else. And we had a Discord for that. And then the second thing is I started streaming to help my friends who are always traveling. So they travel Monday through Thursday for work. So why don't I stream on my PlayStation and say, okay, Chris, you really love playing Scotty. He was a split push Scotty main, and I fucking hated him for it. Right? But I'm gonna go to Barra's stream and I'm gonna give him $10 to play Scotty. I'm gonna write down everything that he does, the way that he plays, the way that he fights, who he was up against, what items he built, what he does in team fights. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to try and replicate that for my friend because they're in Seattle or somewhere else in some hotel room, like trying to figure this out. And so then I kind of like got this like reputation very early on of like the guy who was like helping newer people learn because everybody from PlayStation was new at that point. PlayStation wasn't a thing before season 3. And so, the people in my Discord, I would say like, hey guys, like, there's 500 of you. Well, this was the clan Discord at the time. I didn't have my personal one. Hey guys, there's like 500 of you. Like anybody wants to come in, I'm teaching one of my friends how to play Scotty from what I learned from Barracuda. If anybody wants to come join in. And it kind of like rotated into this like in-house. Like I like to think we were like the first in-house server on PlayStation. It wasn't like super high level players. It wasn't anything competitive, but it was a place where people could come and just play and learn and try and get better. And that's what kind of started the reputation of like, okay, you know what? Ray's gonna go teach people. And then I would say it really took off. I got decent viewership, probably 20, 30 people every now and again. And it would change. And really I was just doing it because I was helping my friends. So it wasn't anything to it. And then it really changed when I met Kurt. Whatever it was the October LAN when he was on ALG. I think season 4, probably. Sounds about right.
Season 3, season 4 was ALG thing. I don't.
Yeah, because it was ALG, then LG was last year, and then this year was Obey. Trifecta and Obey. I think it was season 4 because we started in season 3 and I played Arena for a year.
I'm trying to think. They last played in the season 3 fall finals, and then they played in the fall gauntlet of 2017. That was the last time LG was around.
That's what it was. So 2017, so 2015 was the start of season 3, I think, right?
Good Lord, it's been so long. 2017 was Smite Pro League. 2017 was Smite World Championships. 2018, which was season 4.
That's the last year that they were in the Cobb Energy Center for Worlds.
Yeah.
Because last year was DreamHack. That was when he was on LG. The year before that was when he was on.
Yeah, so he didn't make it. Yeah, so season 4.
So maybe it was season 3. Because I have 2 years subs. Right? So
Weekend didn't play.
It was season 3.
Yeah, had to have been.
It had to have been season 3.
Yeah.
It was when I met him. Because last year And then, so I have 28 month subs, which was July of the year after he and I met. So season 3 at the October Gauntlet, Adonis invited us up because I was like, hey, like, you guys ever like, can people come watch these games? By the way, it was the sickest LAN environment ever. I don't know if you ever went over to the production studio when people were playing before they did like the whole skill shot booth thing.
But it was like stadium, the NRG Invitational.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, where they had like the stadium seating.
Yeah.
Right? And the teams are like 6 inches from each other and they get like double kills and they'd yell over and be like, fuck you, shitter, like you suck. Right? So anyway, I got invited up to that. I was one of Kurt's mods already at that point. And I was there with my buddy, the guy from South Carolina, and I said, hey, Kurt walks in and I'm like, hey man, like what's going on? Like, I'm Wraithyn. He's like, oh shit, like what's going on? And so we got to talking when he was sitting there. And then I think what happened was maybe it was a Springland. Anyway, regardless, what happened was one of the things that happened was he had like a flight out at like 7 a.m, but there was no way he was gonna find an Uber or anything like that. So he ended up coming down to my apartment because I lived like 10 minutes away. And we were all hanging out playing games and whatnot. And maybe I'm mixing stories up. Either way, Kurt and I got to talking, and it was very clear, like, as far as like where people are in their lives in the Smite community, like he and I were very similar, right? Like he was buying a house, I, had career job and committed girlfriend that I'm probably going to marry, which we did, right? And so, versus like, the 18-year-old who's playing Smite for fun, about to go to college, right? Like, there's two very different dynamics of people there, right? And so he and I hit it off real quick. Over that, I'm into business, so is he. Talked about all that stuff, and then out of nowhere, it was one night when I was running in houses, just like I think I was trying to teach people how to play, and the enemy team ended up getting stacked with a bunch of my friends. I was like 0-11 on Rat, and it was the worst game I'd had like all week. And Kurt drops a host on me with like 1,700 people. And I could say like the rest they say is history, but like, it was kind of cool because this community, everybody followed me. Everybody's kind of gassing me up because here I was trying to teach people, even though I was getting rolled. People really started to take an interest in what I was trying to build, which was, a community of people that gave a shit about each other and wanted to see each other succeed, and wanted to be a close knit group of people, right? Like I never, if it blew up tomorrow and I had 10,000 viewers and a Discord that's basically unmanageable, like I think anybody's an idiot if they would say that they wouldn't want that, right? Like I don't think anybody streams to be like, yeah, I want a max of like 30 people to watch me, right?
Right.
But I think the biggest appeal for me is that community aspect of it, that tiny community aspect of it, where it's a bunch of people who really just give a shit about each other and want to see each other get better, both personally and in the game. And I feel like that's what I've cultivated. I've always tried to cultivate. Things like we had a community member who had made an offhand comment about how he was having trouble with his rent, right? And somebody from the community says, hey man, how much are you short? Spots him the money, random guy on the internet, gives him like $100 or $200 or whatever it was. And, and you don't even hear about it, right? And like, as if it's something that should be expected. And like, that is my biggest point of pride is when the people that I try to bring together, are good to each other like that. Like that's what I was looking for. On the one hand, I wanted to help people. On the other hand, I wanted to do something that was exciting and entertaining, kind of, Smite for the average player by the average player. You know what I mean? And then I think the last piece of it was build a community where, people take care of each other, right? And people give a shit about each other. And I think that's the part of streaming that is the most overlooked, right? And it shows on the revenue side of it too, because you look at what I have, right? I mean, I'm at like 630 subs right now, and I get maybe a viewership average of like 50, right? but it's people who support that kind of community environment. Like you have Fortnite streamers that have 2,000 viewers who have less subs than I do,
Yeah.
right? You have League streamers that have 50 times the viewership, but less community interaction, right? Like, creating that kind of cultivated environment where people you're a part of your community. There's just not a community around you. You know what I mean? I think that's what I always was trying to create and be accessible to my community and everything like that, right? So when I started getting really serious about it, it was probably, I think it was July of 2017 is when it was. I went at it and said, I'm going to build something different here. It's not going to be like other, if I ever become a big streamer, it's not going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Where your community is an accessory of your success. It's your community needs to be the reason for your success. And there's two reasons for that. One, because it's something different. And two, because if you want to be a long-term successful streamer, there's two pools of people that you have to care about. You have to care about everybody, but they fall into two distinct categories. You have your viewership, and then you have your community. And the way you determine what is your viewership versus your community is go play another game, right? Go play your non-core game.
Right.
Your community are the people who are going to watch you play no matter what it is. Your viewership is the people who are going to watch you play because you're good or they find you as a resource of education or knowledge or entertainment, right? This one over here, community, is what guarantees long-term success, right? Viewership guarantees short-term success, right? People watch me because I'm good at Smite. I'm just saying, like, if I'm a pro player, right? I'm not entertaining. I don't have a cam. I don't interact with chat, but I have 300 viewers. Why? Because I'm the best mid laner in the world, right? That doesn't spell success for long-term streaming. What spells success for long-term streaming is growing that community side of things. And that should be the goal anyway, not because you want to be a successful streamer, you want to make money or anything like that, but like you need to focus on the people that you're the outlet for them at the end of their day. The one thing that they have to look forward to, they don't go to Netflix, they don't go to Crunchyroll, they don't watch Hulu. They say, I'm firing up Wraithyn's stream because I like him. I like the people that he surrounds himself with. Like, that's what I wanted to build more than anything else. I could give a shit about the people who think I do care about the people who, see me as a resource, but it's within the context of building a community, right? Like, I don't care about the people who come in and just say, hey, what's a Thor build? You know what I mean? I care about the people who come in and say, hey, me and this other community people, or me and this other community person are queuing ranked, and I want to try out our ranked jungle to try and boost myself up. Like, what would you build? How would you play? Blah, 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 right? Like, shit like that. Versus, like, I'm just some one-off bullet point for somebody who's passing by. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's all important because you don't get recognized if you're not at the top of the viewership list. But I think, like, if you want to do the right thing long-term, you have to really, really care about your community and building your community.
Yeah, it's a weird spot, too, because Smite's always been feast or famine, right? Especially in the streaming stuff. And then especially you see it all the time with guys who try to leave Smite or go to other games. And it's hard. Like, Chapo desperately tried to make Fortnite happen for himself or PUBG or whatever. None of it did. He still was Smite. There's a reason, right? Yep. And, you see some guys have managed to have some success there. I mean, Dean Brandon lives off of Smite, but he tries to make other stuff happen. And like sometimes, right, it happens, but a lot of the time it just doesn't. And I feel like, I don't know, then like my struggle with it too is, so I kind of went off Twitch to like go do mixer stuff, and then I work for G Fuel. I am the mixer guy for G Fuel, so it's that weird obligation, right? Like, well, if I am the mixer guy, right, I got to stream on Mixer. And then I was an affiliate for Twitch. I mean, it wasn't great, but I had 20 subs easy, right? So then moving over to Mixer, it's like the core Smite community, to the relevant Smite community, is still all on Twitch, right? So then it's, all right, do you split your efforts? Do you stream on Mixer and Twitch? Do you do what? And you can't. Like, it's the Smite streaming community is a weird spot, and that might just be because that's the one I'm in, right? So I notice more of it, but it definitely feels a little bit unforgiving at times with how it goes and how viewership
Like,
rolls through.
yeah, I mean, you're talking about just like, I mean, dude, I've had nights where I'm like under 20, and I've had nights where I'm over. Right, like if I start past 9 o'clock, everybody at that point has settled into who they're gonna watch for the night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky if I pull a 20 viewer average. I stream late on a Friday. This past Friday, I peaked at like $1.50 with no host. Right, so it does swing very rapidly, but I think people get wrapped around the axle of, like that viewership average. And I mean, you and I were talking about this, earlier, where it's like you almost get to a point where like viewership matters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not the be all end though.
Right?
It's that support. It's
If
like
people,
you hit the nail on the head. Is Smite is an older person game, largely.
It is.
And so
100%.
when you look at like that's why Weekend is so valuable. Because if he can hit 1,000, 2,000 people on Smite, that is insane. That's crazy. That is 10 times the success that a Fortnite guy with 2,000 does.
Well, and you'll watch Weekend at 1,700 viewers versus a Fortnite guy at 10,000, and the Fortnite guy is making less money than he is.
Oh yeah,
5 times the viewership. And actually, I mean, we could get into the whole like advertising theory, but like that's what drives me nuts about like all of these like metrics based sponsorships where people walk in and they're like, you're like, yeah, I got 10,000 followers on Twitch and I have 650 subs, anywhere from 600 to 800 subs every month. It'll drop down to 350, and then I'll, gifted sub all the way back up through the roof, right? Because my community is awesome, right? But nobody ever stops to think something special is going on here. Something different is going on here. There's a community here that's not like other Twitch communities. They just show up, they go, how many followers do you have? How many subs do you have? What's your viewer average? What's your 90-day rolling viewer average? And I look like shit on paper, but I have the most supportive community out of anybody that I know, right? When you're pulling down the same number of subs as people with 10 times your viewership in the same game, like there's something special there. And I completely agree with you. I think people who try and leave Smite, like Frost just left Smite. I think Frost is shooting himself in the foot. I think Frost will be back. Actually, I will bet you by the time this airs, Frost will be back. Because
see, I feel like that's I don't know. I see normally if this was 2 years ago, right? And we were in the afterworlds buzz, maybe I could see him returning. After last year, there is something worse about having HRX now.
Way worse. The venue, you talk about Olympians aren't critical of high res. I hate the DreamHack format. I hate it. I think it's terrible. I think the seats are uncomfortable. I think the games are hard to watch when it's all going on above you. I think the fact that it is a blended mix of different games and there's not a ton of shit to do is awful. I think the fact that you're forcing people downtown is terrible, even though that, yes, there's more restaurants and Ferris wheel and World of Coke and everything like that. You can see all those things from the Cobb Energy Center and around there. It makes it less affordable. I think the timing is terrible because of school and college and work and life. And most people are taking off the next week for Thanksgiving or the week after for Thanksgiving. But trying to get any time off for those 3 or 4 days is impossible. I have so many problems with the Worlds format in general. I completely fucking agree with you.
But the big thing too is, so before last year, the format was, the community versus high res would happen all year, and it'd be go back and forth. Goodwill would be gained, it'd be lost, whatever. There'd be so much bitching and fighting, and then Worlds would happen, and everybody would come together. all would be forgiven. There'd be a giant pop for high res. We'd come out the other side, everybody's best friends.
Dude, World's viewership is the best.
And then you would go up and you just, everything about it was so good, right? So much positivity after the fact. Last year was the first year where like everything was kind of negative, and then we went to Worlds and it got worse on the other side of that. Like there was so much negative all the way to when like SPL started again, and like once that started, it got a little bit better, but it was so, we never had our come to Jesus moment. We never had our heart to heart like as a community again. We never came back together, and that it's been a weird year since then. And
yeah, I think the DreamHack thing ruined it. I think it really did. I think the fact that maybe that it's because there's too much to do at DreamHack. It's not a whole bunch of really passionate fans getting together for Smite. It is, but it's not, right? Because I can tell you the year before, right, at the Cobb Energy Center, I showed up there at door open or a little bit after because I didn't want to sit in line outside when it was freezing, and I lived 5 minutes away, right? I showed up at door open or just a little bit after. I was there for every single set. I, only left during the sets that I knew were going to be a stomp to go play Realm Royale, right, or what was Realm Royale at the time, and check out that side of things. And then I was right back into my seat to watch, everything all the way to the end. I got there early to watch the last set, and this year it was like, I don't know. It's just first of all, it's so much more work just getting to the fucking event. You gotta find parking, you get Ubered there. It's like, you gotta wade through 8 different games and 1,000 booths just to get to these shitty seats in the corner of the auditorium at DreamHack. There's not a ton to do there because companies haven't invested in DreamHack Atlanta as a thing, right? You look at DreamHack Atlanta and there's nothing there versus DreamHack literally anywhere else in the country, and there's way more to do, more games, more booths, more prizes, more this, more that, right? Like the first year they had, the year they had it there, it was like there was like nothing there. I actually think I went to DreamHack the year before that, before Smite was there, just as something to do on the weekend, and it was miserable. There's nothing there.
Did you?
I saw like one H1Z1 tournament, and that was it.
Yeah, they had the year before they had the AVGL Smite thing there, and J.
Yeah, they did. That's what I was there for. I had J Mac and everybody else. It was like off to the left.
Yeah. I was there. I was there for high res.
Yeah, I'm sure, dude. And like
crazy.
And you're sitting in these like shitty bleacher chairs, like just like watching, and it sucks, right? And then, and even then, I was like, wow, this kind of blows. But I guess if they're just getting their foot in the water and they want to make this a big thing, like they gotta show some success. And then it didn't change the next year, but now Smite's there, right? And this year again, hey, we're gonna do DreamHack again. The only thing I can think of is that for some reason it was cheaper to do it at DreamHack, which I refuse to believe that it was logistically less expensive because, like, I don't know. I feel like there's no way it was cheaper to stand up your own stage.
I don't know. I feel like no, it's 100% cheaper to do DreamHack, especially as that's the only championship going on there, right? Like there's but there's so much leached clout that DreamHack gets from high-res being there.
Yeah, but I mean the other thing is like you could like if DreamHack Atlanta was there, right, and we had tickets, right, and I went, and you told me that the COD World Championship is going to be there. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll stick around and watch some of it. I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna go home and be like, "Oh, can't wait to play COD." You know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, I think the assumptions of the cross promotional marketing that they were gonna get from there is way overstated.
Yeah,
and I think the fact that it killed the event as like a coming together of the Paladins and Smite communities is not worth whatever dollar amount was cheaper. Dude, people I remember the first 2 years I got to attend HRX and it was in the Cobb Energy Center. Dude, people were coming out of there freaking out. There were streamers when Energy won, and like the whole place was erupting, and
you were there for season 3, right?
Yeah, season 3 and season 4. Worlds.
My moment where I realized esports is what I want to do, and like like the reason that I am here right now, realistically, was finals between Obey and NRG.
Oh god, dude, I get goosebumps. I'm not even kidding. I get goosebumps talking
when that Obey Olay chant started.
Yep.
When the entire arena was chanting Obey.
Oh, it was nuts, dude.
That
was nuts.
Was like I was like, oh, yeah,
yep.
Yeah. Like I get goosebumps. I get chills just thinking about
just
that.
Thinking about it.
Oh my god. Just
thinking about it. And then the big one for me was, so the year after that was United Rival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, season 4 United Rival. Last year was Splice Rival. Yes, United Rival.
United Rival was season 4. Then last year,
right? So United Rival. Right, we're up in like one of the mezzanine seats because my cousin broke his leg, and so I had to get him like a place where he could sit. But we got one of those like opera boxes.
Yeah.
And we're watching, and PBM comes out with the flag, and USA, everybody's freaking out, like, crazy production, like, this mysterious figure behind the fog and the light and everything like that. And like the production value was so much better there. And I hope they surprise us this year. But dude, I was like, and the place just blows up, USA. And I remember that so distinctly because my uncle, who knows nothing about esports, this is like your traditional, like, fart sniffer, mid-50s, old businessman. Like, I'm going to this video game thing because my son, it's important to him, and he's got a broken leg, so I got to help him get through the airport. Right? Literally, like, for all of the weekend except the finals, he was in his hotel room, or he like went downtown to like do something. Comes in, watches the end of that set, watches the United win, and then comes out the other side of it. And this is a guy who's chastised me and my brother and everybody else for playing video games our entire lives. Goes, that was cool. I didn't know what was going on, but that was cool. Like, to have somebody like that get it, I was like, this is sick.
I got my wife into it, like, kind of the same way. We watched some of Worlds,
dude,
and because what happened is season 3, I was gonna go, and then ended up not being able to go for the first like day or two, because my brother-in-law lives down in Atlanta, so we were down there visiting him. Just happened to be for like New Year's and stuff, and so I spent the first couple days down there with them, and then I could go because they had stuff planned in the day, and I was like, that was my out. But while I was there, I was watching at home with them and got them into it. And I'll never forget, my sister-in-law was just like, who's that guy with the really nice hair? Talking about Pretty Prime. And like, she fell in, like, to this day, fell in love with Pretty Prime because like that was when he was wearing the bandana and had like
the red bandana.
Yeah, and like, so that was a really thing for me. My first year, I was like you, didn't leave the auditorium, whatever. I watched everything, and then watched I think, as good as, no, because I was gonna say as good as the Smite was that year. I think Paladins was better. I can't say that because that Obey NRG set was probably the best Smite I've ever seen to this day still.
Oh yeah.
But I got up, and like, we were there, and we went and saw the Paladins finals between District 69 and Burrito, and like, still, like, I think that is one of the most underrated finals in like high-res history ever as well. Like, that was amazing. They had a sub play who was making all of their MVP play. It was amazing. And then the next year, I went to all the games I wanted to, but I spent more time at the Ren and at bars and just with people and doing things and drinking and everything like that. Like, I was there with APAM at the bar every night.
Oh, Pam, let's go, baby. I love Pam.
I love APAM. And then, were you there for the Richard Castle event?
Was I there for Richard Castle? Do you know Richard Castle?
Do you know Richard Castle? Are you
HHA's coming over to my house on Thursday.
Really?
Oh yeah.
All right. So were you at the Ren for the Are You Richard Castle night?
Yes, up in the auditorium area, up the stairs. Yes, of course I was.
Oh my god, that was me, Punk Duck, and the Defend Middle Lane guys. Punk Duck came up with the song. I I think I started the chugging, and then I started grabbing everybody else to do the chugging, and that was, I think, my favorite memory from what I remember.
Oh yeah,
everything at HRX. God.
It's kind of funny because like the most memorable moments is it's the finals, the grand finals, and then it's the people, right? The other sets, like I couldn't tell you what happened in the first knockout round, except when Weekend got one shot by the LATAM mid laner playing, I think it was Nendroid, playing Raw, right, around the corner, and then that basically ended the game. Under right T2 tower. I remember that and laughing my ass off. But shout outs to you, Kurt. Love you, buddy. But I couldn't tell you anything that happened before that, but I could tell you every bar we went to, every meal we had, all the people we had around. Like it's just I'm right there with you, man. I think it's died a little. I think the two things that hurt it, I don't think the mixer thing hurt at all, right? Because it's like going to NBC instead of CBS to watch a football game.
I literally had that conversation earlier today about like equating like Mixer and Ninja and Shroud leaving. It's like cable TV, and you and I really get that, but like this newer generation has no idea of like what.
There's this like loyalty to Twitch, which, you know, I love Twitch. I have a great following and great opportunity because of it, but like, I don't care. I don't care, right? Like click the button. Like you literally just type in a different web address. It's not that hard. I think the thing that really fucks Smite Esports, and I don't know what their metrics say about growth or dying or anything like that, but I think the thing that fucked Smite Esports is the fact that they did it all during the week. You know, starting at 11 a.m. and ending by 5. You haven't any. I used to watch, because they did have it on the weekends before.
Yeah.
When they would do the LANs, right? They would start on Thursday and they would end on Sunday, right? And when they would start on Thursday, end on Sunday, I would watch every single match. I would have it on the TV in the house. I would go up there if I could, right? Like it just became so easy to throw a whole day away and just get engrossed in Smite, right? And just like, you know, invite a couple of people over, do a little watch party, like things like that, right? Like things like that were possible. And now it's like, oh, who played today? You know what I mean? It's like checking baseball scores the day after. Oh, okay, cool, great. You know what I mean? But I think, I don't know. In a perfect world, I would like to see more stuff on the weekends, more incentives to watch, right? We had this discussion the other day. Like, how hard would it be to make a tier 5 skin, right, that you get by watching Smite?
Yeah.
Right? You know how they do the unlocks right now? You unlock a skin if you watch for a while. Okay, how hard would it be to have 50... Think of like Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah.
Right? 50 pieces of the final product, right? And if you watch during this week for a given amount of time, you have a chance at getting one of those pieces. And if you miss a week, you can buy the piece, right? So the more Smite you watch, the cheaper this tier 5 skin becomes. And then all of a sudden, you've got this crazy viewership of people who are watching just for the skins. But inevitably, a portion of those are going to get into the competitive scene or get into Conquest. Maybe there's a handful of people that try a new god or a new strat or try a new game mode or start following a player or start watching a stream, right? Like it begets, I don't know, people love free shit, and as much free stuff that Hi-Rez gives away, I feel like if they had it on the weekends and they gave people significant rewards for watching, even if they just did it during Worlds, right? All right, you're watching the placement rounds. You get the arm, right? Okay, well, you're watching the first round. You get the other arm. Now you get the legs. Then the last, if you're watching the grand final start to finish, you're going to get the head. But if you missed it, you could buy one of the pieces for 400 gems or 500 gems or whatever it is, right? Things like that where it draws people in. It doesn't make it entirely free unless you really all in on viewership. And you know, gives an avenue to funnel people there. Like, you know, use that as your advertisement dollars, right? But anyway, I think they do that, and they do it on the weekends, man. I think Hi-Rez Esports or Smite Esports just is gonna blow the fuck up back the other direction. Period. They have some of that stuff coming, right? With the like they're gonna start having the in-game player in-game. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Or they're talking about it, or they want to. Oops, sorry, I just hit the mic stand. They want to do something like that, right? Most people don't even know that you can go to Twitch, to learn how to play Smite better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so how do you feed into that process? But anyway, I feel like I've done all the talking, so I'll let you ask my question.
I mean, no, that makes my job so much easier. Like, just to have somebody who's just like knows the questions and like can answer. Like, it's, you know, I've done interviews like when I've had vetting him the first time. Like, he was like a wall. Like, I would ask him a question and he'd be like, "Yeah, we did this."
Yeah. No, I know.
And it was like, "Oh, okay."
I love Connor.
I had Collis on the desk once.
Yep.
Like when he was still kind of new, and that was interesting. And then I did Andy or Homie, I forget which one, and like I was like, "Hi, what's going on?" And then he was like, "Hi." It was like super weird.
Some people are shy, and I mean, I'm certainly not.
Right. So like I've had interviews where it's pulling teeth, and this is just like such a breath of fresh air. Oh man. So I don't know, like what I think we have almost literally covered everything we could possibly cover between Olympian, you as a streamer, community, you know, high res events, things like that. You know, the only other things left to cover are like the stuff what we came here to cover initially.
Right. That whole thing.
So
I might have to put a pin in that because I got to figure out dinner.
All right. Yeah, I guess this is a natural. I mean, we could go on. I mean, we could get into the whole
forever,
obey thing and everything like that. But I think this is a good natural stopping point. Maybe, you know, it's a long off season. We've got from December, January, February. I'm assuming something like that.
Dude,
like,
I'm happy to fill airtime if you need me.
So
That's all I'm good for, right?
We'll definitely double back over the off season. I'll come back to you. Maybe yeah. Thanks for coming on. Here, I'll give you the soapbox to stand on once more. You know, any shout outs you want to give, anything you want to say, go ahead.
Yeah, shout outs to my community. You guys are amazing. You're the only reason I go live every single day. You know, it's not money or recognition or clout or followers or anything like that. I stream because of you guys, and I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have a great group of people to do it for, like you. If you guys haven't figured it out by now, my name is Wraithyn. I am a Smite community streamer focused on kind of, you know, getting the average player better than they are today. I'm not going to make you a Masters player. I might make you go from bronze to gold, but, you know, certainly have the best community on Twitch and the best people to stream to. So if you want to come and join in on the fun, you guys know where to find me. Twitter is Wraithyn1, Twitch is Wraithyn, Instagram's Wraithyn1. I post a lot of pictures of my dog. So thanks for having me, man. This is it's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna get in so much trouble for not cooking dinner by now. But yeah,
you've got some hungry boys doing laundry in there, right? They're gonna.
I'll tell her who to add on Twitter and yell at. But
all right, thanks for coming on. Hopefully, see some more of you. Hopefully, the fucking Olympian program doesn't wear you down too much.
No, we volunteered for this.
All right, so thanks for coming on, bud. Bye.
All right.